Miami Dolphins. The pressure, he's in trouble. Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle. It's a Dolphin touchdown. Throwing deep upfield on the near side. Man open. Touchdown! Looking deep. He's got it there. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown again. Touchdown! Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
You're listening to Fin Too Deep.
Tua back to throw. Blitz coming. They get to him. No, he takes off running. And he's in. Touchdown, Miami.
With the sixth pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jalen Waddle.
Giving you unfiltered, informed, and controversial takes on the Miami Dolphins and the NFL Draft. Here's Reason and Neal.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for yet another one. As always, we are going to dive Fin Too Deep as I'm joined by my partner in crime, Neal Driscoll, who I just got hyped up and willing to drop the stacks on Mosaic Football right now when the show's done. Hey, Neal, 4-1. It's a weird thing because I feel like the fans aren't appreciating that we're the 4-1 for the first time since 2003. We have a chance to go 5-1 for the first time since 2002. It's weird, Neal. We haven't won anything of significance in 20 years. And because everyone expects us to beat the Giants, expects us to beat the Panthers, never mind taking the teams lightly, it feels like they're taking the Miami Dolphins and what we're doing right now lightly when this is some fun, enjoyable football to enjoy together, basically, and to talk about and to share in with Dolphins. Because it's funny, we've been waiting over 20 years to get to this point, but people seem like they're already acting like we've been here. It's almost the same way, Neal, as how they treated Tua Tagovailoa early on when the flashes were clearly there, that you were going to see what you see right now. But beggars were becoming choosers. Almost like, it's like they had 20 Marinos since Marino, not letting it play out. And I feel like it's kind of that same unappreciativeness and, expectation bar set for what we're seeing right now in the first 6 games. But I'm enjoying the ride, Neal. I don't know about you. 4-1, let's go 5-1. How you feeling coming off that win?
I think you just covered a lot and said it in a good way, man, because we're 4-1, and you asked me before the season through 5 weeks we're 4-1. I'm going to be elated.
Tua's healthy, Neal.
And Tua's healthy, and look at the injuries we're overcoming to do that, right? We've had no Jalen Phillips, no Jalen Ramsey, Waddle's missed games, Terron Armstead can't get on the field.
Yeah.
Connor Williams was out for a game, and he looks like he might be out again this week.
Don't say it. Don't you dare put that energy on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you dare. Okay.
But what we see is this team can overcome adversity, and that's the signs of a good football team, a good, well-coached football team. They didn't have Deshaun Elliott for a game. They haven't had Nick Needham, who's been a versatile role player for them for many times. I couldn't say enough good things about him. I think it's one of those things is that when you get momentum, any kind of, any roadblock you hit or any speed bump you hit, we kind of focus on those too much, man. And I'm the kind of guy like, look, dude, I'll kill an ant with a sledgehammer, man. I overdo things all the time, but I'm trying to find balance and ride in the wave, not letting the lows be too low. Not letting the highs be too high. I'm not going to act like when I found out A-Chain was on the IR that I didn't throw this calculator across the room right here and break it the other day, because I did. But with that said, like this team for me, if they can go 3-1 every quarter of this season, that means they win at least 12 football games, man. And I that's how I'm looking at the football season. I couldn't be more happy. on the direction of this team.
Can I
And
just point something out? You got two secret Chris's. We're still mad we lost to Buffalo. And Darth Static, we just want a statement win. Okay, I'm going to address both of those. Number
Right.
one, when we headed into week 1 against the Chargers, Herbert was once again an MVP favorite. They're once again a playoff favorite. They had, what did they have? The number 7 pass defense last year, and they were getting back Derwin James. J.C. Jackson was about to be healthy. Khalil Mack was going to be healthy. Joey Bosa was going to be healthy, and we stifled them and we won in a shootout. I get it. The defense
on the road,
is
West
it on
Coast
the road
trip.
Yeah, West Coast road trip. And I get it wasn't the defensive showing we all wanted, but you got to win those type of games. So we had a statement game to open the season. The thing is, it's what I all told y'all. Everyone was sitting here doing back wheels and cartwheels and backflips over the 70-point output over the Denver Broncos. And I told all of y'all, if we lose to Buffalo, that ain't going to matter because they ain't going to talk about it no more. And sure enough, that's what happened. But at the same point, what would you rather be right now? Would you rather be sitting on top of the AFC East, or would you rather be the Buffalo Bills, down your best coverage linebacker, having to make games without your best coverage corner in Tre'Davious White, and you just lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are good, but they're not as good as the Dolphins right now, and it looks like you just won your Super Bowl in week 4 early on in the season? I'm just saying right now, like, count your blessings. It's like Neal said, yeah, there's going to be bumps in the road. Hell, when we were 3-0, what was I coming out and telling everyone? This team's going to eventually face adversity. How are they going to respond to adversity? And they got a little taste of adversity, and now we got 2 more weeks to get right for the next little test we got. And I don't think it's just Philly. I think that 3-game stretch is going to, and I keep saying it's going to be a real test for this team, and we're going to see what we're made of. Because if y'all thought Belichick was throwing everything in the kitchen sink in, early on in week 3, what do you think he's going to be doing when it's his last chance to get that W over Tua, before the 2023 season runs out, with everyone swirling around Belichick that he's not that guy anymore and Tom Brady made him who he is, et cetera, et cetera. So, listen, and let's remember, I keep saying this, throwing this number out. I believe we're 15-2 in our last 17 at the Rock. Buffalo got to come in week 18 and win on the Rock. It was one and done, ladies and gentlemen. They got to come win in one of the hardest stadiums to win in over the last 2 seasons. So let's see what they got when they roll into the Rock in week 18, because all we got to do is we got to TCB, take care of business, so we can put ourselves in a position in week 18 where that means more to them than it does for us. All right? That's what you got to do.
Right. And coming into the season, we had the 31st ranked strength of schedule in the NFL. And now for the remainder of the season, we have the 21st. So that tells me the hard part of our schedule was the 2 road games to start the season. They took that into account. And the Dolphins came out 4-1. That schedule that looked daunting before the season started doesn't look so daunting now. And I think,
we haven't done this in 20 years, Neal. We've been 4-1 in 20 years. But these people, but I wanted this, I wanted that. Relax here for a second.
And the next 3 games, it's Tua versus Alabama quarterbacks. You have Bryce Young, you have Jalen Hurts, and then you have what's that bum, Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Yep.
If he's still starting.
That's actually a very fair point at this point. But I like everything that we've talked about on this show from the beginning, right? This team being a bona fide playoff team, winning a playoff game, being a Super Bowl contender. What I think is that you want to be as good as you can be to the bye week, and then you come out of the bye week, and you're probably going to have Armstead back. You're probably going to have A-Chain back. You're probably going to have Jalen Ramsey back.
We can talk about Jalen a little bit.
I won't say too much, but I'm just saying, like, you come there, you're adding 3 elite, significant players to your team for the back half of.
And who knows what we had at the trade deadline?
Right, and I think they will, and I think they will make a move, and they've already made a trade, and we're going to talk about that in a second. And, that's where I think that, and you talk about being an appreciative fan base. For me, it was very frustrating after we traded for Chase Claypool when I looked at the timeline, because I wanted the timeline to, like, pop bottles and celebrate that we just got a guy who within recently as 2 years ago showed to be a bona fide number 1 receiver, went to Chicago with a run-first quarterback and struggled a little bit. And sure, there's probably some unprofessionalism on his end. But this is a different environment, baby. And you get a guy like that, and I'm seeing the people are like, why the hell will we trade for Chase Claypool? Right? And we love Braxton.
That worries me
Berrios.
about Izakama. That's what it does. It worries me about Izakama is what it does.
It does, but man, I think the upside here is going to be unbelievable with Claypool in this offense. And I think it's just a great move that shows that.
Yeah, but I just don't. I think you got a guy who's going to go into that Izakama role, and I don't know if we're going to see Izakama and Craycraft back at the end of the year. By the end of the year, that's what that says to me. Is what I mean.
Yeah, I think they're out. I think Izakama's out for the year, man. I don't.
Dude,
think
that worries me. A recurring neck injury from college. This isn't good, my friend. Like neck and spine is where you do not play games, brother.
Right, and we only get 8 return from IR designations, right? Over the course of a season.
Haven't we already used up like 6 of them or something?
I mean, when you think about it, you're going to have A-Chain's going to get one. Your Ramsey's going to get one. Armstead, I think Nick Needham's going to get one, right? How about Robert Jones? You think he gets one?
I think we've used up 6. I saw someone talk about that. Don't we only have like 2 left?
I think we only have all those players back. Yes, I think. Yeah,
I think we only have like 2 spots left.
So I think one of the receivers is going to be out for the year, and based off the injury, it sounds like it could be Izakama. I think Craycraft's another guy that's probably going to be back after the bye. I think Craycraft's another guy that could come back after the bye.
Well, we'll talk. I want to talk about Claypool. We'll talk about that in a second here. So, hold on. Let me put that little. Hold on.
Oh, Jeff Wilson's grabbing one of the IR return for designation returns.
I just had to put a note here for when we talk about him because I had a good point. Yeah. So listen, I think I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. We got a lot of, you got Chase Claypool coming. You got the 3 players you mentioned coming off IR. A-Chan coming back. I mean, that guy could put up
Jeff
another
Wilson.
500. Yeah, Hefe coming back. So you see all these names coming off, and like I said, who knows what we're going to add or do at the trade deadline as well, right? So
there's a lot, man. That's why I keep saying the Dolphins are playing closer to their floor than their ceiling. And we
haven't even seen them hit their stride on either side of the football at the same time.
I agree. And
listen, you know where I'm sitting at? Brother, we're 4-1. We haven't put it together yet. Keep rolling at this pace and put it together in like week 14 so we can drive it into the playoffs, baby. You know what you're seeing the Texas Rangers do right now, what they did to us and what they did to you. What you're seeing, the Philadelphia Phillies are playing their best baseball. I know, but the Philadelphia Phillies are playing their best baseball, and so are the Diamondbacks right now. And these guys are steamrolling. We were talking about that, right? Look at the Diamondbacks. The young team hitting their stride at the right time. And look at, bro, they had 4 home runs in 1 inning last night.
When this team is as healthy as they're going to be in December and playing their best football, I think the excitement in this fan base is going to go crazy because
and people don't realize Jalen Ramsey, even at 80%, if he's back to 100, is still a game changer.
Right. I mean, and look, man, I'll tell you what, it's little moves, now that A-Chain's going to be out for at least 4 games. It's pretty refreshing to know that you have Jeff Wilson ready to come in. I'll be honest. And I was one of the guys get rid of him, blah, blah, blah. But it's kind of refreshing to know that he's the next man up. And,
so let's talk about this. Well, before we get into the crux of the show here, because we're in the opening thoughts segment, basically. This is where I stand. I want to get your thoughts on this. To me, Jeff Wilson's going to be rusty. Now, I know Frank Smith today was talking about how good he looked. That's not game speed. That's not where you at. Okay, we can both agree. Salvin Ahmed, we've seen what you are. Shouldn't this be a week where Chris Brooks is rewarded for what he did against Denver and what we asked him to do in the versatility he showed from the wing back and tight end and fullback position last week against the Giants? I think he's caught up to game speed. He's obviously so acclimated in the playbook. They're using him in these different looks right now. He's comfortable. I think this is you run Mostert and Chris Brooks this week, and you massage your third guy, be it Jeff Wilson, I think should be the call, not Ahmed. You massage him back in with reps here and there, but I'm right. It's the Carolina Panthers, man. I mean, and I don't know if you saw the injury report today.
Oh my God!
But Derek Brown and Brian Burns did not practice today.
And for their offense, Taylor Moton's going to be out.
But I'm talking about from running the football perspective.
I mean, we were
no Derek Brown, no Brian Burns, Chris Brooks, and McDaniel usually rewards guys for doing the type of work he's put in over the last couple of weeks. Man, I'm taking Chris Brooks on. I'm taking him for 2 touchdowns this week because I bet you that'll be plus 16,000, and I'm at least taking him as an anytime touchdown scorer.
Well,
At least.
it's kind of like a varsity team playing a JV team, man. I really have that feel with it. And I think it's a golden opportunity for some of these guys to get some burn, like Cam Smith, Chris Brooks. I want to see what some of these guys have. And this is the perfect game. And I it's also, you don't want to get too cocky, but like, look, the Carolina Panthers are not coming to Miami, and I'll knock on wood, but they're not coming to Miami and beating the Dolphins. That's not a prediction. That's a spoiler. Like, this team's not coming down there. Bryce Young, without their best offensive lineman, and Taylor Moton's going to be running for his freaking life with no weapons on the outside. I think Miles Sanders isn't going to be playing either. I mean, and Brian Burns is their best
He
player,
hasn't
and
even
Derek
been
Brown.
good though. He hasn't even
Yeah,
been
and
good,
Derek
though.
Brown's their second. I would love to see Cam Smith play significantly in this game. I really would. And I'd love to see Chris Brooks because, I mean, like, look, just think of the stable you
But
do
did you
have.
hear Fangio today, bro? It sounds like he's sticking with Eli back to being that third
Oh,
guy when
yeah.
they go with 3 corners on the field. And did you hear? It don't sound good for Brandon Jones' his future in Miami.
Oh, dude.
It's what we've been seeing. Deshaun Elliott's got that locked down. Like, there were some gems coming out of today, man.
I'll tell you
I
what,
don't know if you
man.
saw,
If you
but
go watch our archive of our shows, there was nobody in Dolphins podcast and YouTube space as high as Devon Achane as us. We were both big components of saying that Deshaun Elliott was going to be a better safety than Brandon Jones.
yeah.
You know what I mean? You're starting to see some of this. I mean, you were a big Braxton Berrios guy, right? Like, you were, I just think it's funny, man. Like, this team, man, there's just so much to ride off of. And I mean, man, like, this team is loaded. And that's where it's like, I just remember all the Chris Greer hate heading into this season, man. And for us to be 4-1 with the injuries that we've been hit with, but not just that, man, to see Devon Achane be the 90th pick in the draft and outplaying Bijan Robinson, right? Like, that's not insane. That's the reality of what's been happening. And then just seeing, like, honestly, man, like, Austin Jackson might be the best overall offensive lineman on this team if you count every single game this year.
It's true.
That is insane, man. Like, that is insane. Watching him last week when I broke down the all 22, because I really watched Austin Jackson, because I was like, man, when I've watched it live, I was like, I have a feeling that guy played awesome. And then I saw him running 25 yards downfield, just lighting people up, man. Like, I don't know when it is too early, and I don't know what type of contract he's looking for. You're not obviously going to pay him what the 5th-year option was because you declined it. But, man, I'd love to see if you could work out just a brief 1-year extension with him to see if he can keep it going.
Let's talk about this. Chase Claypool, do you think he's going to break out under Tua Tagovailoa? Because there's a couple things I want to talk about this. Now, he's talked about the playbook, how he's been studying it really hard, about how there's a lot of shift, a lot of motions. He indicated he's catching up pretty well on it. I mean, we saw him out there on there were practice videos that came out of him yesterday. He, the size clearly shows, you know what I mean? And it's a low risk, high reward type of move. It's basically a 1-year thing. You saw Jalen Waddle was saying he looked like a freaking, quote unquote, he looked like a freaking machine moving out there. 4.42 speed. If that would have been Cedric Wilson instead of, if that would have been Chase Claypool instead of Cedric Wilson, he would have got out of bounds in the 4th quarter. He would have got the sideline a lot better. My whole thing with this is, let's take it a step further. If Chase Claypool does break out under Tua Tagovailoa, doesn't that add even more of a layer to how great Tua is at rejuvenating careers and working with guys who aren't even relevant anymore early on? I mean, people forget this is the guy where, Lynn Bowden had 211 yards on 28 receptions with Tua Tagovailoa. He hasn't had a single reception yard since. He's had 1 target since in the 3 years since 2020. People are forgetting that, other than, what you look at it, Mike Gesicki put up his best statistical yards with Tua Tagovailoa. He put up 703 in 2020 with Tua as a rookie, and then 780 into his second year. And now he's on pace for what, like 300 and about 400 yards this year. You know, and now you got Claypool, a former guy who's put up 873 yards as a rookie with 9 touchdowns and 860 yards in the second year. And then let's be honest, after Ben left, the quarterback play dipped in 2022 in
Oh, it was
Pitt
awful. It was
and in
awful.
Chicago.
It was Mitch Trubisky.
Is
Awful.
this? I think this is another chance where Tua has the opportunity to make a glorious chicken salad out of a pile of what people are trying to unrightfully deem chicken shit, because I think Chase Claypool's got all the traits. I just don't think he was invested in. And I'm not. Listen, you want to see these guys giving 110%. You want DJ Moore, where he knows the quarterback ain't good, but he's still going out and giving 110% and putting up those numbers. You don't want any. I'm not going to justify anyone quitting on a team, but I'm going to tell you this much: sometimes those players lose the love of football a little bit and becomes more of a job. And Tua Tagovailoa in this offense, Neal, it might give Chase Claypool the opportunity to fall in love with it all over again. And hopefully they build a rapport where this can be longer than a 1-year thing, and it can be a multi-year investment. And we find that third receiver, because it's the first guy who isn't 5'10", and he runs a 4.42 speed. I mean, this could be a very beneficial relationship for Tua, Chase Claypool, and the Miami Dolphins. And I think there's a good chance it might take a few weeks, Neal, but I think there's a good chance we see a little bit of a breakout game, specifically in that 3-game stretch between Philly, New England, and the Chiefs.
I think this is a way bigger move than it's getting credit for. Just being completely honest. We gave up a 2025 6th-round pick for Chase Claypool and a 2025 7th-round pick. So we pretty much moved back around with the odds of a guy that we pick in the 6th round making the team probably being less than 10% to get a guy like Chase Claypool, right? Like, that's the reality. 2020, his rookie year, right? He had 890 yards, 9 touchdowns, was one of the best physical downfield jump ball receivers as a pure rookie in this league. Ben retires. You throw in Mitch Trubisky, right, as this team's starting quarterback, and they couldn't wait to replace him with Kenny Pickett, right? And it's not like Kenny Pickett's Dan Marino. It's, there were bad situations. He gets moved to Chicago, and I think there's some immaturity on Chase Claypool's odds. But environment matters. And it's not Luke Getsy calling plays like it is in Chicago here. It's Mike McDaniel. He's not surrounded. All due respect to DJ Moore, is one of my 10 favorite players in this league. He's a Maryland Terp. But, Justin Fields is a run-first quarterback. And it was a bad scenario, and the wheels kind of fell off. Claypool was unhappy, and Chicago moved on from him. One man's trash is another man's treasure, because I think here in Miami, being the number 3 receiver at best on this football team, because I still think Berrios might be the number 3 here, I think he brings a different skill set, and I can see him scoring a touchdown if he's active as early as this week, because that's what the Dolphins do. They have that type of mojo where they'll make a guy feel comfortable by giving him a ball in a spot like that, right? But I think that for him, this is a big opportunity for him to improve his worth. And I know that we saw the video of him chasing Tua after the Steelers game, and he goes and he gets him. Who knows? Did Tua say, "Hey, this is a guy that I want. If he's out there, let's make this happen"? But I think what we're seeing is a bigger story here. What I think the story is, and you're touching on it, is Tua Tagovailoa makes people better. Tua Tagovailoa is that
That's
guy.
a sign of a great quarterback.
Right. When you're looking at the elite of the elite quarterbacks in this league right now, that's what happens, right? Pat Mahomes makes guys like Valdez, Spalding, Sky Moore, these guys better football players. That's what Tua's doing. So as much as he loses credit for getting guys like Tyreek and Waddle, and everyone wants to take away from him, Braxton Berrios looks like Wes Welker out there. You got Chase Claypool is going to come in here and watch. I'm telling you, down the stretch, Chase Claypool is going to make a big football team for this, big play for this football team. I really believe that. I love this move, and it's a skill set and a size that we don't have at the position. He brings a physical nature to it. Look at
Look at
that
that
guy.
size.
I mean,
Look at him. That's next to Cedric. Look, go back. I'm gonna go back here. Cedric Wilson is the tallest receiver for the NFL before we got Chase Claypool. Look at him. And then wait till you see Braxton run behind him. Watch, you're gonna see Braxton run behind him. Watch this. Wait till you see this. Look at that. Look at that.
coached.
Look at
Yep.
that.
Well, he's a well-coached player from Notre Dame. You know, I think Durham
He can,
Smythe.
when he shows the effort and the willingness to block, he can, look at that. He can blow people up, man.
I mean, and look, dude, Chicago has great pizza, right? I love Luminati's. Like, it's my favorite. But, like, come on, man. He left Chicago to go to Miami. You don't
And he
think
said losing war on him.
right. And now he's 4-1 with one of the best teams in football. And he honestly doesn't have
Tyreek
a lot
Hill
of
said,
pressure.
looks like a vending machine out there. What does that mean? That means he's a big man and he moves up 4'2".
Yeah, what do you think it means when you walk down a hallway? You see a vending machine. It's
Yeah.
But I think man. I think this could be honestly another chess move from Chris Greer. I really do, and I think he honestly will probably play his way out of Miami because after he has his resurgence here, I'm sure someone's going to try to scoop him up.
And you know how much they're going to be using him in that Izakama role that I've been telling people? That's what's coming with him. They asked John Embry about it today if he'll be playing with some tight ends, and because there's a CBS report about it, I guess. And John Embry said that they're going to be doing some work together. So they're going to be using him that same way they want to use his common 11 personnel, but they can give you 12, 21, they can give you 12 or 21 looks out of it, basically,
Right.
if he's doing tight end things. So, and they can shift him into the backfield and he can do running back things. That's what I think you're going to see him in line off motion, either going into the backfield or in line blocking off motion. Like, you're going to see them do 12, 21 personnel type things out of 11 personnel with him. And he's got the size. And bro, in the end zone, we finally got that target. Now, I've broken down every snap of Tua Tagovailoa over 4 years. Even when Gesicki was here and he used to target Gesicki, for some reason, he has a habit of looking at his breaking out routes more than guys coming directly over the middle once he gets inside the 5-yard line. He's been doing it for years. He missed wide open. I forget who it was this past week, but he missed him wide open when we covered it on the breakdown. He used to miss Gesicki all the time with it. Hopefully, if they do it with Chase, he's big enough body where he's going to see this guy throwing his arms up. But I think this guy's got because of what he can do physically, a lot. You're going to see why Gesicki was never going to last here is because Chase Claypool's got all the traits they want. Now, can they get it out of him and get that fire back in the belly? Hey, winning can do that. And an offense that's fun to be a part of can do that. And Tua has proven he'll target 6 to 9 players in a game, not just Tyreek and Waddle. So those narratives are brutal. And man, I just want to see him rejuvenate another kid's career. And if Chase Claypool gets paid off playing like 12 games in the regular season and a playoff run with Tua Tagovailoa, that's just going to add another like cap into his feather, man. I mean, you see in every sport, Sidney Crosby did it with Chris Kunitz and Pascal Dupuis. Elite players make other players good or great who are like mid-tier guys. You see it all the time in different sports.
Well, like Robert just said in the chat, man, this is a low-risk, high-reward type of move. Yeah. You don't even lose a draft pick if it doesn't pan out. You just move back around. Like and honestly, one of my favorite throws that Tua hasn't got a lot of chances to throw as a pro is his back shoulder fade. And God, I could just see that working to perfection here with him and Claypool. I think they're going to acclimate him pretty quickly. I think he'll get some snaps this week. Like I said, in the red zone, I think he's going to sneak a touchdown in his first game as a Dolphin. I just have that feeling with him. And man, this is a move for me. Like, I mean, this is a good move. Like, is as bad as he was in Chicago, he still caught a touchdown, which is more than Odell Beckham, Zay Flowers, and Rashad Bateman have caught combined in Baltimore. So, for me, it's a low risk move. He's not even the Ric Flair. He's not the Arn Anderson. He might be the Barry Windham here, and that's about it. So for you wrestling fans, so I'm actually excited to see him play this week. I hope he's active.
He might be coming into. Listen, we've talked about whether he's one of the best play callers in the NFL, Mike McDaniel, before. Is he one of the most creative play callers there is? It was something that Peter Schrager and the Athletics Ted Wynn, the guy who does all the all 22 breakdowns. I don't know if you've seen him before. He's from the Athletic.
Yeah,
Ted Wynn.
I've seen him. Yep.
So this is what they were talking about. Let's play this. Let's talk about it.
You have one game and you have 2 weeks to prepare. Say it's a Super Bowl. Say it's just week 1, and you want to get the most creative play caller, or maybe the most decisive play caller out there. Who is your pick? Who are you going to war with? Who's going to be the guy that's going to be dialing it up for you?
To me, it's got to be Mike McDaniel. I mean, like we talked about, the motions and the toss, and I feel like they're taking all those little wacky things that San Francisco used to do sometimes, and they've turned it into an entire offense. Like the way they use their personnel, they come out in 21 personnel, but they'll line up an empty out of 21 personnel. And they'll line up on these spread formations, and then you never know exactly who's going to get the ball. The first play of the game against the Giants, they came out in 31 personnel, so that's 3 backs, 1 tight end, 1 receiver, and then they motion Jalen Waddle into the backfield. They fake a run. They fake a run to him, and they reverse it for a huge gain. So it's like you never know who's going to have the ball, but at the end of the day, they're just running 2-back runs, but they're doing it with all this window dressing and world-class speed. So it's really fun the way that they're using their personnel. And I just think that's just the Dolphins' speed, and McDaniel's just like a marriage made in heaven.
See, I think this is more so creative play caller. I think is the wrong term. I don't know how they're missing it, because I respect the hell out of Ted Wynn's mind. I think you're seeing a really good play caller, one of the best offensive play callers in the NFL, mixed with what? One of the best play designers offensively in the NFL. I think he's one of the most creative play designers mixed in. I won't call him the best play caller yet, because we still see the lack of trust.
Reid, right?
Well, we still see the lack of trust to hand the ball off to Achane, who's averaging like 13.6 yards per carry, or Mostert, who's averaging 7.6 on 3rd and 1. And you're dropping Tua back or on 4th and 1. So he's got to get better in those certain situational aspects. But I do think overall his game, he's one of the best play callers in the NFL. And I think he's one of the most creative, if not the most creative, play designers in the NFL. And I think that's another layer that's going to have Chase Claypool excited to come here, Neal.
Yeah, well, look. I saw an infographic today that had ranked the top 10 coaches in football. And it had Mike McDaniel at 5 overall, 1 spot above John Harbaugh, who's been 12 years with Baltimore and won a Super Bowl there. That's the type of respect he's getting. And what I think is so brilliant about Mike McDaniel is that he's not, the plays that he's running, that when we see the run, it's not, they're not crazy concepts. What the crazy part is there's 100 to 1,000 different ways on how he gets to there, right? With the motions, the shifts, the formations. And that's where it's like, that's why it's hard to figure out this offense. Everyone's like, well, look, it's 5 games. They had the most yards in NFL history. Defenses will adapt. Well, you can't adapt if it's not the play that's beating you. It's what happens before the play. And if he has 1,000 rabbits that he can pull out of his hat, well, what are you going to do to stop it? Right? Because there's different motions. Like, and I want to give Mostert and Devon Achane all of the credit they can get. Right? Because they're brilliant runners.
Just say Achane.
Achane. What?
There you go. Boom.
There
Look at that.
But like, I'm watching plays when there's those pitches and sweeps to the outside where, man, I don't even have, before they break the line of scrimmage, I know it's 10 to 15 yards.
Yeah.
Like, I could see how much gap there is because the defense is sucked on the other side of the field. Like what we're seeing is revolutionary. And I know Kyle Brandt had this thing. They're not the Miami Dolphins are. And your Kyle Brandt's opinion doesn't matter about it. Mine doesn't. The stats show that they're revolutionizing football. And if they keep this historic pace, I said this, there's a Jets space I've been joining in the morning that's always on my work commute to work. Good guys, good conversation. There was a troll in there ripping Tua today. They were very complimentary and defending of Tua, right? And we were just talking about like Mike McDaniel and how this is all coming. I said, dude, and I mean this, I'm watching a better offense in Miami right now than I ever saw with Dan Marino at the helm.
I agree. You're seeing more creative.
And that's not me.
You're seeing like it looks like if Bill Walsh would have been running Dan Marino's offense. That's what you're seeing.
Right. And if that makes Tua Tagovailoa a system quarterback, well, damn, man, Tom Brady was a pretty damn good system quarterback too. And I don't care about those fake accolades or the fake names.
Belichick was a system coach.
Right. Like all that stuff doesn't matter, man, because it's how you interact in an environment that matters.
Yeah.
And look, that is what I'm seeing. I am seeing an offense that
sometimes
they can only stop themselves.
Sometimes football comes down to perfect marriages.
Right.
Think about this. I mean, you had Favre and Holmgren back in the day, right? You had Reed with McNabb and also with Patrick Mahomes. And look at even with Alex Smith to an extent. You had Harbaugh with Kaepernick. That was a perfect marriage for a little bit. You've got Tua and obviously McDaniel. You had Montana and Walsh, right? Like perfect marriages, sometimes between the head coach and a quarterback, you see, great grand results.
Well, look, if you rewind when Mike McDaniel was first hired, he was on that plane, the check your pulse thing, and the first call, we saw was made to Tua. I don't ever think that I thought it would ever reach this height. I was excited about it, and I thought it was going to be good. I didn't know it would reach the height where you were transforming the NFL, and that's what's happening right now. And look, I'll be honest, a couple of the picks that Tua threw last week were uncanny of him, and I think he was trying to do a little too much with the football. But that's how good this team is. They still can beat another NFL team by more than the spread, which was the highest the Dolphins have been favored in decades. They beat a Giants team by 15 points handily, and they made a couple mistakes that probably cost them 10 to 14 points. But that's how good they're operating right now, is they make up for that. And
I expected this run game to be what we're seeing a little bit, not a chain at the pace he's at, but
no,
I expected this explosive run game. I expected the passing game to be great because I had said back in the day when people would always say, I want to see Tua with Sean Payton, because of the whole Brees connection, I said, no, I want to see Tua in Shanahan's offense because that's what his skill set is made for. So I expected the passing game to be great. I did not expect it to be this historic until we saw what we saw last year. And then that's when I started using the word, oh my God, year 2 might be historic. But right. I had to see it first to see it. And, I expected Liam to be where he's at. I expected Austin to be where he's at. You know what I mean? So,
right.
But I expected this run game to be where it's at now. That's great. Even for us who had big expectations for these guys, they've even exceeded those. That just tells you how good this offense has been, how good this coaching staff has been, and the job that's been done overall. And it could get even better. We talked about it earlier, and I want to show it to everyone here. Guys, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. Sam Madison today, Neal, he talked about good old Jalen Ramsey.
I'm excited about this part of the show.
And this is what he said, sir.
Next month in November.
Yeah, I've been speaking with the trainers a lot, and the weight room guys, man. He looks really good, and he's been really good for the young guys, coming out there encouraging them and telling them what he sees on film. So that's very, very encouraging, especially having a veteran of that stature and having him in the room and still being into it versus, you've been around before and you have veteran guys and they're standoffish because you have guys out there getting to work. But very hopeful and looking forward to getting him on the field. Been watching this guy for a very long time and finally had him in training camp, but he's definitely, when he's ready and they say that it's a go, he's definitely going to help us.
The indications are that all indications I'm getting and hearing here, and I hearing behind the scenes here, is November is this guy's going to be back
after the bye week. I think.
I was here. Yeah, I was hearing this before, and then I heard Madison today, and it looks like this is going to be reality. That we're not even going to be waiting until December, Neal. That Jalen Ramsey is going to be back in. Oh man, this is huge because you saw Eli was only giving up yardage when he was giving off that cushion, and that was more on the play call than it was on him. Eli's played some good football in that one game against New England. Man, this is Jalen Ramsey at 80% is a game changer. how you feeling that this is becoming a quick reality that he's going to be back in November? It's looking like.
I mean, this is the best defensive back in football since Ed Reed, right? Like if we're calling or calling the truth here, man. I mean, like look, Jalen Ramsey is the second best player on this football team behind Tyreek Hill, and that's with all due respect to everyone else on this roster. This is a
Yeah.
first ballot Gold Jacket Hall of Famer who's got probably 5 more years of elite top level play in him. Like he changes everything about this defense and this football team. And first of all, don't let that gray and Sam Madison's beard confuse you. That's a bad man too. That's one of my top 5 favorite Dolphins of
Yeah,
all
he's a
time.
Dolphin
But
legend. He's a legend.
I love him. But Jalen Ramsey changes everything about this football team. He's the best player on the defense the day he steps on that field. Now, I love to see him come back right after the bye, but I also don't think you have to give him
Rush.
50 snaps a game. I think you can bring him, let him have some formations, let him get the rust off, let him get his movement back. Who knows by the bye what our record's going to be. I'm thinking it's going to be pretty favorable because you need him in December and January and February, right? But for me, man, this is a huge domino to fall where this guy told you he's going to come back better than the doctor said. I know Omar Kelly said he saw him running to the tunnel last week. And, I mean, this is a guy, man, that just could change everything about this defense. And when people rip this Dolphins defense, I'm quick to remind them that they've played this season without their 2 best defensive players, Jalen Ramsey and Jalen Phillips. And I really believe that. And, I don't think they're the 27th overall unit in this league. And I think they'll get better and better. And, I think they're going to add to those stats this week against Carolina. But man, getting Jalen Ramsey back, I mean, honestly, it's like adding legitimately
Superstar. You're adding a
a
superstar. You're adding a
superstar on
franchise
your team.
lockdown
Yeah,
guy.
right. Like
And
that's just
it's
amazing.
gonna be interesting how the snaps. You talked about Jalen Phillips and stuff. Like where I'm at with that is, you got to give Jalen Phillips the early downs and such, and then rotate Chubb in there on third down and pass rushing downs, I think. And AVG's got to keep getting those snaps. I mean, Fangio talked about it today about how they're just trying to get Gink on the field whenever they can. And I mean, Deshaun Elliott, look at that secondary. I mean, I can't wait to see Deshaun Elliott and Jalen Ramsey in the secondary, because even look at that secondary transforming with Deshaun Elliott out there. You know what I mean? Like you've clearly got the Robin to Javon Holland's Batman right now, and Deshaun Elliott, he's worlds better than what Brandon Jones is. And with what, not just rust wise, but with what you're tasked to do in this defense. And, I just think when Ramsey comes back, that secondary, oh my God, it's there's a lot of potential in that secondary. The thing that sucks is we haven't even seen Cam Smith really get snaps to this point. That's going to just drive him even further down. And we were hoping to see him get snaps in these 2 weeks. But when Ramsey comes back, it's going to be even harder to get snaps, at that point. So,
Yeah,
and I don't know if you saw Fangio today, but Fangio, he said about Raekwon Davis, he said doing good sometimes not.
I saw that.
It's a consistency thing with him. He's got to push himself. And he even said with Ogba, he's had some production, but a missed opportunity too. But back to the secondary, I just think with Jalen Ramsey coming back, this thing is going to be so tight where even on plays where our 4-man rush, it's frustrating us and can't get the penetration. You're going to have guys that can still make plays back there, because one thing that's lacking, Neal, I think, we haven't really seen a lot of plays come out of the secondary, right? Like we haven't seen, what do we have? 1 pick, and then a couple Javon Holland forced a fumble. We don't have a lot of turnovers coming out of that secondary for some of the names we have back there.
Yeah, and I love interceptions, man. I love them on game day.
They tilt the field, right, for us.
Right. So I think I mean I don't think it can be overstated how much just the presence alone of Jalen Ramsey, the respect offenses are going to show him, are going to change the game plan against us. But the way I look at it, man, is that when you get out of the bye week and this defense is at full strength, you're having a defensive line of Ogba, Raekwon Davis, Zach Sealer, Christian Wilkins. I put the edges up there. So Chubb, Phillips, Andrew Van Ginkel. Your secondary is going to be Ramsey, Howard, Nick Needham, Eli Apple, Cam Smith, Javon Holland, Deshaun Elliott, Brandon Jones, and David Long and Jerome Baker, as much as, I've complained about it this time, they're a formidable group. I mean, they're not going to, you're not going to confuse them with anyone from the Steel Curtain or anything like that. But I think overall, this defense, I mean, you got a lot of talent that's going to gel together. And as this season, it's week 6, right? Like, the old Rome wasn't built in a day. This defense is going to look so much different in week 12 and week 15 and week 18. And you don't think that those guys on that defensive ball are so tired of seeing whenever the Miami Dolphins are on TV, it's always about the offense, right? These guys are competitive players. That attitude on that defense is going to change when Ramsey comes back. Everything's going to change about that defense when Jalen Ramsey comes back.
I agree. Oh man, I can't wait. So before he gets back though, we got a deal. We have almost 500 people in the room. Smash that like button, please. Before we get there, we got to deal with the Panthers this weekend. And I think one thing not a lot of people are talking about, Neal, is the Panthers heading into this game right now. They actually have the 5th best passing defense.
Right.
And they have the number 2 third down defense. They're only allowing a third down conversion rate of 29.8%. And they're only allowing about 185 yards. They actually have the 13th best total defense overall, but they're just getting gashed on the ground by the run. They're allowing 140.8 yards per game on the ground. Our passing offense right now is average. It's the number 1 in the NFL. So is our total offense and our rushing offense and our scoring offense. But the passing offense, you got the number 1 overall passing offense with the Dolphins, averaging about 327.8 yards per game, heading against the number 5 passing defense. And they got players now. I know we were talking about Derek Brown, Brian Burns, et cetera, being out. But bro, on that back end, they got some dudes. You know what I mean? They got obviously Jeremy Chin, who been a stud. They also they have Von Bell as well.
Who did not practice today, though. He did not practice today.
Yep. Remember they traded for TJ Henderson.
So yeah, from Florida. But that's a guy who I think we can eat up all day.
Yeah. So I mean,
and Dante Jackson, he was out last week,
right?
And I think he's going to be out again this week.
So when's JC Horn coming back?
Out for the season.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, he's out. Oh. He's like out.
So what do you think of this? And look at the Kamu Grugier-Hill in the linebacking core.
He's starting for them.
I know. What do you think of this? What do you think of this matchup heading in? Because there's a lot of parallels. I said this to the guys yesterday on between Richmond and ballgame. There's a lot of parallels with how Bryce Young is kind of being crapped on a little bit, with how Tua was being crapped on, and like an old broken down Adam Thielen is his like best weapon right now.
Right, and that's what I like. I like Bryce Young, and I think this season's going to be a bad measuring stick for him. They overpaid for Miles Sanders. I mean, Miles Sanders, to me, he had one good fantasy football season. I never have seen him. It looks like he might be down, so we're going to probably see Chuba Hubbard out there as their starter. I mean, they went out and spent too much money probably for Hayden Hurst. Their offensive line, they have a rookie from NC State, Chandler Zavala, starting at left guard, who, I mean, man, I don't think he's NFL ready, and I think he's actually hurt and not playing in this game, actually. So
yeah, he's hurt. He's hurt right now.
So they have Bradley Bozeman in the center. Calvin Throckmorton is a guy they got from New Orleans at right guard. I mean, their line, and Ikem Ekwonu has not lived up to the billing of a top 5 pick. They have DJ Shark, Chenault, Terrence Marshall, Jonathan Mingo, Adam Thielen. No wonder they want to go out and get a number 1 receiver. They have pretty much a room full of number 3s. It's going to be a long day for them, man. I honestly don't know if they could score a touchdown in this game. I hate to be that cocky about it. And without Derek Brown and Brian Burns, their defense is disgraceful. We're not going to put I'm not going to doubt this team. I can't go into every week predicting 50-point games like from this offense because they might beat this team up so early that they just call the dogs off and throw Mike White out. I mean, if I have to pick this game, man, 38-9, like, I mean, I'm trying to be respectful. Like, that's me trying to be nice. I just don't see, and I feel bad for Bryce Young. He's going to have a long day. I think the defensive line is going to eat. I think the defense is going to probably get 5 to 6 sacks in this football game. I think Bryce Young will throw an interception or two because he's going to be under pressure. I think what we'll see is it's a really, if you keep DJ Shark in check, right? Mingo's a big guy. Thielen's a big, crafty receiver. Chenault isn't going to kill you with his speed. He's like their poor man's version of Debo Samuel there, right?
Yeah,
I just think, man, this is going to be a bloodbath, and the Dolphins are at home, where you've already said they're 15-2 in their last 17 games there. I mean, man, this is a time to get this winning streak continued. Uh, get your work done, get this W, and then get yourself ready for a huge Sunday night football showdown. That yours truly will be at live in attendance.
How do you see? Because we just talked about how beat up the offensive line is, and just how bad the leaks in this team. I saw a lot of Dolphin fans, really, stat touting and everything like that after we just padded our stats clearly defensively against the Giants. Do you think this is going to be another one of those games where they pad the stats defensively?
On both sides of the ball, I do, man. Yeah, and I think the defense will. I mean, look, the defense needs to get that swagger. They're going to be aggressive. You're home. You got a quarterback as a rookie who is struggling. I mean, he's struggling. Bryce Young is struggling. He's not playing like CJ Stroud is in Houston, right?
No, he's not, for sure.
I just, man, yeah, I think you're going to see. I think every start on this line could get a sack, to be honest. I think it's going to be one of those dominant performances. And, I hope, I mean, and you might know better than me. Is Jalen Phillips playing this week? Is that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
man.
know.
I mean, that's frustrating.
Sounds like they're starting to prep for him to be back, though. So
yeah, I mean, I guess they don't have to rush.
Russell says 38-14 Miami. Fins up, fellas.
Yeah.
Salute. Member for 11 months.
Yeah, well, I think maybe the goal is to keep everyone and get everyone ready for this Philadelphia game, and do the kind of forbidden rule and overlooking an opponent. But I think maybe they're doing that because Van Ginkel and Chubb are getting the job done anyway right now. So yeah, man, I think this is going to be a fun week to be a Dolphins fan. I think it's one of those games we probably get up early, we cruise, and then for me personally, when I watch and we're up 15, 20 points, I love watching us pad some stats, getting
for sure,
getting some sacks and knocking the ball loose. And I will say this is a game that could get really out of hand. Meaning, the Dolphins, you could turn on TV Monday and their Dolphins are getting talked about putting up 50 points again. Like I truly think that could happen in this game.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all the Patreons and channel members.
Go. Look at
that. There's so many of you. Y'all just you keep supporting the channel and you let me do great things. So I appreciate, there's literally hundreds of you. So thank you so much for supporting this channel, letting us do what we got to do. I am going to be live tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Don't miss it. And guys, vibes, patch vibes. Y'all remember it.
Awesome
use code
stuff.
Use code Reason for 15% off right now on Patch Vibes. Right now, you can go get 15% off all your gear from Patch Vibes. Go show them some love. Go support them. Neal, any final thoughts before we get out of here, as we potentially go into a week where we could be 5-1 and sitting atop of
and I don't think it can be. I think we will be 5-1, and I think next week's the Super Bowl preview. My season prediction was Dolphins Eagles Super Bowl. I think next week's Sunday Night Football game is going to be absolutely just so much fun, man. What just so much talent on the field, but I am just enjoy this football team. Like, they're 4-1. I don't even know when the last time they started 5-1. I'll do some homework and try to figure that out. But this is a team, man, that they're answering the bell right now. We put high, lofty expectations on this team heading into the season, and they're delivering. And they're delivering. I mean, they're delivering without some very key players on this football team. Armstead goes down. Kendall Lamb steps up. Next man up mentality. Eli Apple steps up in Jalen Ramsey's absence. We're seeing this football team be very complimentary of each other. And that depth we questioned is doing a pretty damn good job right now, holding this team down until some of these superstars come back. My last thought is Tyreek Hill, what I see from this guy on a week-to-week basis, man, he is among the best football players I've ever seen in my entire life, man. To watch this guy in a Miami Dolphins uniform do what he does on a week-to-week basis, that 69-yard touchdown throw, him on the earlier throw crossing the field, Tyreek Hill, man, is as good as it gets in this football league, man. And kudos to our quarterback for continuing to put all those naysayers in their place. The Tua Tagovailoa redemption tour is off to a hell of a start.
Bro, it's man, it's a beautiful time to be a Dolphin fan, isn't it?
It really
Right
is.
now?
Look, I'm having the most fun I've ever had. I can speak for myself. Like I'm don't you get like to the point where it's Thursday and Friday and you're just salivating for the game?
Well,
to
I
come on
also
Sunday?
like when, if a team scores against us, I'm not worried if we got to come back.
Me
You know what I
either.
mean? Like,
And if Tua throws a pick, he comes back and makes a big play to make up for it, dude. That's what I love about it. This team, when they get the wrong, they get that white out, they white it out, and they get it right. Like I like that about this team. I
yeah,
like them. They have a cockiness to them. They play with a cockiness, but I love that.
yeah,
I love
agreed.
when you impose your will on other people and say, look, you know what we're going to do it. You don't know how we're going to do it, and you can't stop it either way. Like I love that about this team.
Yeah, it's hey man, it's a fun ride so far, and this ride seems like it's only going to get better and funner as the season progresses. Please, everyone, do us the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you are new. I'm going to be back tomorrow. Man, I might be back I'm either going to be live at 2 p.m. tomorrow or 5 p.m. tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. We will preview the Dolphins game this weekend against the Panthers. And then, of course, I will be live on Sunday for the live reaction and the post-game show. And then we're going to be getting into Philadelphia Eagle week, which seems what a lot of you are waiting for and looking forward to. But, man, I want y'all better show up on Sunday for that live reaction because we could go 5-1 for the first time since 2002. And we're gonna talk our ish on that post game show if we're sitting 5-1 the top of the AFC East, especially if the Bills lose another one. We're gonna be talking our smack on that post game show. So, like I said, please everyone, do us a favor on the way out. It costs you nothing. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. Thank you to all the YouTube channel members and Patreons. I have a special 25% discount code for Vibes. For Vibes Miami coming out to all of you guys tonight on the Patreon and for all you channel members under the community tab. So be on the lookout for that. Appreciate each and every one of you. You already know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day. And we will see y'all on the next one. Take it easy, guys.